Look at the map, you see it is the borderline to the right of Israel. And it separates the country, Jordan, from Israel itself. Much like how it was then, but continues to be like that up to this day. But unfortunately, Jordan is actually sort of dying off. If you read up on it, you'll realize that most of the countries, they tap water out of Jordan. And so Jordan was once a very beautiful river. But now it has less water in it, a lot less water in it. So if you don't know that, well, you learned something new, right? I don't know how you can use that in your day-to-day knowledge, but you know, that is maybe the ironic part about life as well too. And it is, of course, as I said, the borderline that separates Israel. And much like how it was, it continues to be like that up to this day, which is amazing when you think about it. But God's message was simple to me. Many of us go through our lives thinking that it would be impossible to reach our dreams. Anybody like that here this morning? I haven't let go of anyone then. Sometimes I think that it is impossible for me to reach my dreams. You see, my dreams might not be your dreams this morning. Your dream might be you open a business and you make money. And that's your dream, right? And nothing wrong with that. But for me, opening a business, for me, is spending hours upon hours coding something for somebody not to like my app. And so a lot of the times I would build an app and it wouldn't get the push forward. It wouldn't get the push forward sometimes to reach where it should reach. My dream is to reach 1 million people, but I only reach about 20. By the way, Purely Bible is still here. It's free. Download it if you get a chance. Alright? But our dreams are different, and sometimes we may have a dream that doesn't come to fruition right away. Right? And so sometimes, as I said, our dreams may seem impossible to us. Maybe as we get to the young people, I don't know. And what we want is far from what we have. Anybody like that this morning? Yeah. I can raise my hand. Yeah. I can raise my hand, right? No, everybody afraid to raise their hand. All right, Brother Alan, good to see you in the house. And thanks for sharing it. At least I know that somebody listened. Very good. And this can lead us to be disappointed in life when we can't reach our dreams. It leads us to be depressed in life. When we started off so fresh and so happy, and then life give us this, and then we feel like it's not worth it anymore. It's not worth it anymore, right? And then you start to lose hope when you feel like that depression hit you. You lose the hope that was driving you before, because you was hoping for this happen, you was hoping for this happen, and when it don't happen, it's like, you get knocked down, but you could get back up, because you only get knocked down once. If you ever see them boxers, some of them boxers just take a few knockdowns before they knock down completely. Some of them just take one knockdown and that's it for them. But some just go on, they persevere, you know, they get hit, they fall down, they stagger a little bit, the referee count them 1, 2, 3, or 10, 9, 8, and they go down. And then he gets back up at least once or twice, you know, to show that you're manly, as they say. But that is how it is sometimes. You get knocked down so much that you could lose hope. Yeah, boy? Yeah, boy. I'm talking to somebody then. Yeah, to God be the glory. Alright. This is what God was showing me, because He's talking to me too. And in fact, I don't know about you, but as I said, I have experienced this before. Being knocked down, as in not somebody punching me out. Like, I sure this Abigail could punch me out, but not physically punching me out, but just things coming my way that just keeps putting me down, you know? And because you're working for a specific result, you're working for something, whether that be a house, whether that be a car, whether that be just having a child. Sometimes you don't work towards having a child, you know. Some people don't just go ahead and, you know, and just have a child. They plan before and they make sure they have things. I see men sell their most prized possessions when they heard that their wife was pregnant, because they had to afford to buy a crib and make sure everything in order, paint the room, set the room up, make sure, of course, they have a house or room or whatever to take care of the child, and so forth. And so it there's a certain amount of preparation and so forth that takes place because you want a specific result. Only to realize, like in my case, that after spending 50% of that time, and 50% of that time, my brothers and sisters, you don't know. It is not 1 day or 24 hours. Sometimes it is 6 months at a time for me. I just know it from my experience. 6 months of programming something, and when somebody look at it, they say, oh, what is it? When you look at an app, do you ever think that somebody died building your apps? Do you ever think about the fact that when you run Windows on your computer that people died in the process of not seeing Windows completion? Do you see it like that? But no, that's what I'm saying, it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. So I might not know your experience in life, but I know that I can be the only one working hard. And I can be the only one that sometimes is getting knocked down this morning. I'm preaching to anybody this morning. I'm preaching to somebody this morning. I'm preaching to somebody this morning. So only to realize after spending 50% of that time, which is perhaps 6 months, maybe a year, maybe you're waiting 10 years is your 50% waiting for that car to put down a down payment on your car this morning or something to get you going, right? And you reach a point in your life where it seems impossible to reach the desired result of 100%. You may be paying off a loan and you're struggling. You might be doing something, you're praying to God that your children will come out a certain way, maybe they're a little wayward or whatever is the case. You're praying to God, you reach 50%, and then some little thing happen or some big thing. And they say, oh yeah, you know, they're going to never change. You know, you feel like that. You feel down, you feel depressed about something because you feel like you're doing all this and you're still not getting where you need to get this morning. That desired result. And then you realize that all that time spent, you feel is in vain. You realize it's in vain. How do you feel? Sad. I feel sad. I feel sad when that happened. Maybe disappointed, and I said hopeless, which all leads to perhaps a downward spiral of depression. You see how depression is come? Sometimes depression comes with chemical things that you cannot explain. You can't say, well, hey, this makes me feel sad. But sometimes life gives you stimuli to make you feel that you need to be sad. And that is where the start of the spiral happens. You don't spiral yet, you know. That's like in the start of the spring. You know you have a spring? And the spring starts somewhere, and then you build the spring and it spins around. And then it starts to spin you out of control. The sadness was the start you could have control. But when it starts to spin, it can't go out of control. Out of control this morning. And I can tell you that one of the hardest things in life is to fight for something, only to realize that you reach a point where you see that it is impossible to have. Because then you wonder, what was the investment of time for? What was the investment of your money, your resources? What was the investment of neglecting your family or your loved ones? What is the investment for? Feeling hopeless this morning? All right, I now get into it, but it's not for you to feel hopeless this morning. I'm just trying to get you to feel what you might be feeling, but what someone in this church might be feeling, and someone outside there might be feeling who can't even put their footsteps into church this morning. This is what all the blood, sweat, and tears seem all in vain. And sometimes this is how life is. There's no other way to explain it. This is how life is. And we see here what the Israelites might have been thinking. You see, they went through for 40 years, my brothers and sisters, and they still wouldn't complete. They didn't reach 100%. I don't know if they were 60%, if they were 75%, but guarantee you, they weren't at 100% this morning. So this is how they were probably feeling. Not probably. I can say that with utmost certainty of a high degree, that this is how some of them would have been feeling. And of course, we look at Joshua because this is what we see. We see Joshua. We see Joshua and we say, well, all the Israelites knew because Joshua knew. No. Joshua is in the book because God was talking to Joshua. But you see, you might be going through a problem in life that I don't know about. And all you see is Joshua because Joshua knew. But you might still be going through your situation. And so, We can't look at Joshua and say, well, the whole Israelites didn't have any feelings. They had feelings. Alright? So when you look at the book, don't just look at the main character. Look at imagine the outward characters. And this is how God reveals things to us. So, in this case, not particular Joshua because God was speaking to him, but for everyone else, when Joshua said, we are going to Jericho, you see, Joshua was telling them what God was telling them, so they was kind of following him in a way, not in a way, that's what they were doing. And what many people would have seen is the obstacle that blocked them, the Israelites. This is what they were seeing, not Joshua, but everybody else was seeing the obstacle that was blocking them to get to Jericho. You see, there was an obstacle to get to Jericho. It was an obstacle to get to where they wanted to go. Yes? Amen this morning? Amen. In life, God was showing me how to deal with these obstacles this morning. Every week, I think about where I need to be, and it reminds me of these struggling obstacles. And I even think about where the church should be headed, and I meet some obstacles as well. But lo and behold, the scripture came to me, reminding me of these obstacles. The Jordan River was an obstacle which could not be avoided. It was an obstacle like the sea. How you could get rid of the sea? You can't really get rid of the sea. The Jordan River to them was an obstacle that could not be avoided. Do you have an obstacle in your life that cannot be avoided? Do you? It stood without care, an obstacle, metaphorically speaking. It stood without care, without feeling for the feelings of Joshua and the Israelites. Do you have an obstacle like that in your life this morning? An obstacle that doesn't have a feeling, doesn't care about you, doesn't have nothing to do with you. It is just there, that's how it is. An obstacle that couldn't care less if you were alive or you were dead. That is the obstacle I'm talking about here this morning. So how about you? Do you have an obstacle in your life that has no care or feeling about you? Well, God was speaking to me about these obstacles to speak to you this morning. These obstacles that are only in your life to hold you back from your destination. It could be an obstacle in your job place, an obstacle at your school, an obstacle in your family life, maybe even an obstacle in your private life that nobody else knows, like a habit, for example. Some obstacle that keeps you, that holds you down, that grips you, and does not let you go and move on into new and better things this morning. This is the obstacle that I'm talking about. But Joshua knew that God commanded to go over. And so Joshua knew that God's word was a promise this morning. Hallelujah. It was a promise to that obstacle this morning. And so he walked by faith in what God was telling him to do this morning. And so you have to look at that. You have to say, well, there's an obstacle there for you. But you can walk by faith in God, and something good will happen to your life this morning. And I just feel the presence of the Holy Spirit. When I saw that, and even up here now, as I'm speaking that to you, because I know that it is not just for me this morning that this message is for. I don't know any of your lives this morning, but I know that this message was for somebody this morning. And so he walked, as I said, by faith in what God was telling him to do. But he already kind of knew because God was already speaking to him. So I can't confirm if that is the exact faith at which we define it as. Because sometimes we don't know when God's speaking to us. And sometimes we feel like we are alone, but yet still we could walk in faith. So this is for both the faith of which you could know because God is telling you something and you have faith in God because God told you something. But this is for those who feel like they are alone, that God is not speaking to them, but God is still there and you could still walk by faith this morning. You could still walk by faith because look at this story, look at this account here. And each man, before we share, and as they set their feet upon the bank of Jordan, the river began to dry up. An obstacle which nobody else, you see, nobody else could have moved that river. That river, to the average man then, could not have been removed. So the obstacle that we face today, do you think that that obstacle is bigger than Almighty God? When you read a scripture like that, what does that say? That even the surety, as they say, the shore that you know is not the shore that God knows.
Amen.
God knows more. God can do more for us when it comes to these obstacles. An obstacle blocking your way. And each man they selected from each of the 12 tribes, took up each a stone and carried it forth to the other side of the bank. Where the stone come from? The river. It wasn't a river when they walked through that. The river disappeared. Now I'm not saying the shape of the river, I'm talking about the water in the river. The thing that just make a river is really the water. So the water just totally subsided. Can you imagine that this one? Can you imagine the Caroni River? Just all of a sudden somebody stepped foot on it. Well, we can say, but that man is Jesus. If somebody walked there and that river just totally just stopped flowing, that is the river I'm talking about. And I'm talking about a little stream like we're seeing right outside there, no? A river, big river. They just walk by faith and they touch. As the priest touch it, bam, the river started to clear up, to dry up. And as the last of them, and so they took up the stone from inside that river, right? I am sure that would have had a big stone. It wouldn't be no small pebble. For each man to have to hold a stone, it would either be some weight, at least the size of a brick or bigger. And this is what they took the stone, and they took the stone out of the bank. And as the last of them passed over the second side of the bank, the water began to fill back in that river. Now, I don't understand any science back then, but according to what I see here, I know even up to now it's a little hard to stop a river so fast. It's hard to stop a river so fast. You can take a backhoe if you want, or whatever, you know, what is called devices. And you put that and you dig something and you block it and so forth, but you will never do it as fast as what I see here in this account. So I'm saying that something impossible was becoming possible this morning. Something impossible was becoming possible. So in so doing, in this short account, it shows us that God is more powerful than the obstacle or the obstacles you might be facing in your life today. Whatever the problem is, whatever situation it is that is keeping you back from God's promised destination, God is saying He will remove it if you trust and you obey Him. He will remove it if you trust and just obey Him. He is saying, put your mind and your heart on Him. Forget about that obstacle and trust in His word this morning. Because in that just knowing that obstacle there removes your hope this morning. It removes it from even thinking ahead this morning. So instead of that blocking you from thinking ahead, trust in God so that God could show you your future this morning. He could remove that obstacle this morning. He is letting you know that He is Alpha and He is Omega this morning. He is the beginning and He is the end. You know what that says? While an obstacle is in the middle, it cannot stop the inevitability of the perfect outcome at the end of it all this morning. Now you may say, well, the perfect outcome, what is the perfect outcome? That is up to you this morning, but I'll tell you the real and true perfect outcome is to have everlasting life. It is to have everlasting life. Sometimes we're looking for the perfect outcome here, which is the best house, the best children, the best wife, the best this, the best that, the best that, and whatever. And I'll tell you something, you can get the best of everything and still want more.
Come on.
But the thing is, God said He was the beginning and the end. And so whatever is in the middle doesn't really matter so much, as the beginning and the end. And this is what he was showing me this morning. And so this is why he was saying, put your mind and your heart on him. That while an obstacle is in the middle, it cannot stop that inevitability. You know what I mean by inevitability? It cannot stop God. No matter what, it cannot stop God. You have to understand, even up to our death is related to what God was saying here this morning.
Amen.
There are some people, God, I don't want to blaspheme against the pulpit this morning, but there are some people who will not change. They will not change and recognize God. And you know what happens to even those people? Everybody is guaranteed death. And you have to wonder what death is all about, And sometimes when I see it, I see death as God having an example. God having a utility, a tool to use when something doesn't work the way it is supposed to work. Because he decides the start and he will decide the end. Even life from the start, death to the end. This is what God was showing me this morning. The serious part and also the blessing part, which is the fact that he will make sure that that obstacle is not going to be your obstacle this morning. So he is reminding us that in times, with wisdom, we need to walk by faith and not by sight this morning.
Amen.
Because sight will totally destroy you. In fact, I was watching a YouTube video. It was a motivational speaker. Well, I don't want to say a motivational speaker. This lady was actually, to me, speaking some level of truth. She was saying that there's no such thing really as motivation. So I said, well, this lady crazy. I mean, we just get every morning to go to work because we know we'll get a little bit of money and we can spend it on insurance. And I say, this lady crazy. But this lady was saying that our brains are designed to stay away from things that cause us trouble. It is not the same as motivation. When there is trouble, our brains are designed to stay away from it. That obstacle that comes your way, when it comes your way, it is like a spotlight. All you see is the obstacle. Forget everything around you. And that is where the challenge comes in. Because the obstacle now becomes the biggest thing on the screen and you don't notice everything else around it. And so the obstacle holds you back, but when you walk by faith and not by sight, you're not going to see that obstacle so much. The obstacle is no longer the spotlight in your eye. You know when you have a spotlight, a bright light in your eye, all you see is the bright light. You don't see anything around it. This is the bright light in a bad way, the obstacle. But if you walk by faith, which is to look not at that obstacle, but to look at God, which is greater than that obstacle, well, then you have hope and then you have meaning this morning.
Amen.
And then you know that God could do what he did in the Bible this morning, which is to stop a river entirely from flowing so that his people could have crossed.